Does anybody want to see how to change a tire?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Alright, we'll go to tire changing. Quick setup here. It is already broken. Harbor Freight sells a fantastic bead brake for $44. If you're going to change your own tires, go out and buy it. Number two, this wheel does not have any discs. This is my beater wheel that people practice on, which means that they beat the hell out of it. And I don't really care because it's cracked. So you're welcome to try this on this wheel, and that's a wonderful thing. Tools that you will need, besides to mention the Harbor Freight tool, tire levers. They're about 10 bucks a piece. These things over here, which are Tropicana juice cans, these are the best protectors you'll ever see. These things are really nice. Now you can use like the oil cans. This stuff, you know, even though it's a little bit thicker, but it works really good. Not a problem. If you're doing this with discs, I strong, you have to be very careful with discs. They bend. I can straighten them out because it'll cost you. So you try not to bend the disc because, like I said, if you drop a wheel on a disc, that disc is going to have a width. It's going to have run out in it. You only allow 5 thousandths of an inch, and that's it. Anything more than that, the thing is going to give you problems. So what I do is I usually have 2x4s that are a little bit longer, and that supports the wheel off the ground. Thusly, right? Now here's one thing that most people don't really think about, but it really makes sense. The tire is smaller than the rim. Okay, that makes sense, right? Because it'd be bigger, it'd fall off, and we don't want the tire falling off the rim. All right, so then you say, well, how the heck do you get the tire on if it's smaller? It's really simple. If you look at the rim, it's got this big indentation in the center. Stands to reason if you put this end into the indentation, this end can go further out. Therefore, you can pick it up over the lip over here. Make sense? Anybody has a problem with that concept?
Never looked at it that way, but I see it.
Right? Who would think that? Unless you're changing the tire. All right. Another thing that you definitely need is this guy. Soapy water. You can use Windex too, but soapy water works just as good. And yes, you do need to lubricate the rubber. That will come on.
Yeah.
Alright? So, you put this guy in the center like this. You kneel on it, thusly. You make sure it's away. You take your spiffy protectors. These have seen better days. Oh, it's brand new one. Wow. Going all out. You want to start small. Taking big bites is not going to help. It just makes things worse. So what you do is, if you're right-handed like I am, I start off with my left hand and use my right to work around. Some people might want to go backwards. That's strictly up to you. Your choice. Look at the tool. You notice it has a bend in it. There, it has a bend here. The bend is to hook the tire bead. So if you put it in like this, guess what's going to happen? It's going to fall off. But if you put it in this way, it's going to catch it. Very important. See? Bend. Alright, we put the first tire in. Now, never let go of the tire. I can't now, but when you have tension on it, never let go of this guy. They always stay in your hand because they do fly out. This thing is like a spring. Now you see this? This is 11 o'clock. This is 12 o'clock. This will be 12. This is 11. Right? So you want to work in 1 o'clock positions. And that wasn't so hard, was it? Pull this guy out. You notice I never let go of this guy, or at least I'm guarding it. So if it does pop up, it's not going to take out my friends on the other end. And see, I was putting it in wrong. Jeez. Now watch this. Now look at this. Now is that hard? I'm not even sweating yet. Alright, now at this point, I don't know if this thing's going to come up, but that wasn't that hard. You put 3 of these together, like this. Pretty slick. Once again, lubrication. Now this is a street tire. It's somewhat stiff. I really like race rubber. That stuff is soft. I mean, it works really good. There we go. It's nice and loose. You put these 3 in like this. Pretty swift, huh? You take, like this one, I don't know why. Like this. Now watch this. Go like this. It's out. Actually, it didn't come out that fast. I got smacked in the head, but that's it. How hard is that?
I pay people good money to do that.
Yes, you do. But now, if you want to put it back on,
It's easier.
this one came out super easy. I never had one fly out that easy. Usually, if you have trouble, you kneel on it, and I wish I would have had to kneel on it, but you can kneel on it. Hold on to the rim because it will fall out. If you still have trouble, get a rubber mallet, and where you split it, where it's just barely touching the rim, you hit the rubber right there with the mallet, and that's going to come out gently. Sometimes you have to do that. You can use a steel hammer too, but do not hit the rim. That's not good. All right. So now we got the tire off, and we're going to put it back on. Tire direction. Look at that. It's got an arrow on it. Real easy to put it on backwards. Ask me how I know. A lot of times what I do is, a lot of rims have directions on the arrows in case you're not sure because you flip it around. Yeah, because it looks the same both
Does the
sides.
front rim matter?
Excuse me?
Does the front rim matter?
Yes, because sometimes the spaces are different. You should put it on the same direction. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does. But if you're consistent, if you do it the same way, you can't go wrong. But sometimes they even have a speedometer drive on that side. So, I really don't care about this particular tire, but you should. One thing about these arrows, it's a rain thing. It directs rain away from the center of the tire. At the track, I'll run one track day with the tire facing one direction, and then the next day I'll swap the tire around and run it backwards.
Hope it doesn't rain.
And if it doesn't rain, I'll go out of the track. I could care less. But you're right. That's exactly it. You hope it doesn't rain. But that's how since most of the turns are left-hand turns, guess what? One side of the tire is going to wear out real quick, and then you have to throw the tire away. But if you rotate it, and then when you finish that, then you sell it to somebody who's a street tire.
Because the middle's still good.
The middle is just fantastic. Okay, once again, we lube the tire up. Any questions? This would be a good time for questions. No questions. All right. You lube the tire. You really don't want to have any water inside the tire. So if you do get water inside the tire, just wipe it out. No big deal. One thing let me touch on. Stems. You should replace your rubber stems with a metal stem. Now you can buy them from me, and they're cheap. But the reason is that the rubber stems do wear out, and they do get rotted, and they should be changed. Most bike shops just change a tire; they never change the stem. That's something you should. If you put a metal one in, you're done. You never have to change it again. So that's something to consider. I personally won't even change a tire unless I put the stem in. Because if anything happens, I know, I have said before to some of the people here, I know 4 people that the valve stem failed. They were all on BMWs. They obviously got a bad badge. Something was wrong.
Gus on his R1, his front valve stem went at $170.
Yeah, see, now that's bad. See, that's real bad. These won't go out. A little bit of stuff on your hand. You put it on because lubrication is always good.
Oh, I'm a drain along.
There is a dot on a tire. Not all tires have it. It's usually
Michelin is the barcode.
yeah, Michelin is the barcode. Some of them have it, some of them don't. But don't lose too much sleep over that. You know, people will argue the point forever as to yeah, you do this and that. That's what weights are for. You know, in a perfect world, you want everything to be perfectly balanced, but you're gonna balance it anyway. So if you're a little bit off, don't lose any sleep over it. There's way too many other things to worry about. All right, we're gonna do the first thing. Now notice I'm doing it by hand. I'm trying to get the rust out of it, and this sucker's easy. And the first one's free, not always, but usually free. The second one you're gonna have to earn that sucker. So you bring it back. You have to get the step in. Once again, you work it. And what you do is you kneel on it and you try to keep it in the center. You see how it's in the center here? If you don't do that, this is steel. You will never get this over that unless that's in the center. Flat out impossible without tearing up the tire, and then what's the point? Once again, the spiffy protectors, big bucks. By the way, the ones you buy for $5 for the set are crap. Don't waste your time. They're really fast.
Can you damage the tire by stretching?
Once again, the rim protectors that are made specifically for this, I've used them before. They're junk. They're very hard to use. They're very fat, and they usually wind up inside the tire, and it's a bitch to get them out. I find that these are much better. This is not my idea, but the person who, I read this off the net that recommended these. This works really good, even though some of those are a little bit thicker, they work just as well. Anything heavy, do not use the milk containers. Those things are made like 2 molecules thick. They aren't worth a crap. They tear up way too easy.
Much thicker plastic on
This is a much sturdier plastic. And I do recommend that all these directions are posted on the net. I just posted them the other day. Just read it again to refresh your memory, because I downloaded a lot of information here today. Where is my other tire iron? Here it is. Once again, small bites. This time we're going to do something different. We're going to go backwards. We're going to work from outside in instead of from the inside out, because we are installing the tire. Small bites. If you're working hard, you're doing it wrong. This is a fact. Now, be careful with these tire irons. See, now I moved up my knees. This one you always keep in there. Make sure it doesn't fly out. Okay, I grabbed it. I feel the rim.
You just saved $30.
50. Well, yeah,
If you
30.
take your own rib, it's 30.
There it is. Okay, now, very important. When you're putting air in the tire, this is a very foolish thing to do. See this?
Put your finger in the way?
Yeah, that'll hurt. Trust me, it'll hurt a lot. I never done it, but I don't want to find out. So when you're inflating a tire, you hold the tire like this, you put your hand up here, right? Where's the stem? And this is how you inflate it. It'll be very easy to do this without thinking about it. You have your hand up here all the time. Don't grab it like, just have it up here. We said very important. These are the only ones you're born with. This is the only thing that makes you different from the rest of the animal world. Okay? Enough said. Another thing, when you're inflating it, this thing's going to pop really hard. Expect it. And it'll still scare the heck out of you every time it does it. The reason I like to hold it like this is if anything happens to this bead, like for some strange reason it has a weakness in it or whatever and it blows out, you want it to blow out that way. You don't want it to be blowing out this way. This comes from aviation experience where we put 200 psi in a tire.
Wow.
So, and the tires are like 4 or 5 feet tall and they're about this wide. So there's a tremendous amount of energy there. There's a tremendous amount of energy in here, but that one is just balancing. Oh geez, I don't have a balancer. But they have preservative on them, so it's not as accurate as it really should be, but it's probably way more accurate than anything else you get done in a bike shop, especially the computerized stuff. So,
You said this is more accurate than the computerized?
absolutely. And if you doubt that, just ask the guys, when was the last time you had the computerized stuff calibrated?
Yeah.
And I can give you the answer to that. And it's true. So now you can do, the reason I put a piece of tape there is to prevent this bearing from falling off. You really don't want the bearings to fall into dirt. If it falls on concrete, it's okay. Now a lot of people tell you that this doesn't work. They're wrong. There it is.
There's what is.
The heavy part is going to the bottom. It's telling you where the heavy part is.
So then you want to put the weight at the top to balance against the bottom.
Right, now obviously I should have put some air in this, but I didn't, because in case somebody wants to try the hand out and see right here. And this will tell me where the heavy spot is, because once you start rotating you kind of lose it. Also, what you do is, Here, I'm gonna have to cut up one of these weights, but I won't stick them on, but I'm gonna cut them.
Well, the heavy spot's opposite of the tape at the bottom.
Yes,
Okay, you said the heavy spot was where the tape was.
this is the light. This is the light
The
slot.
light spot.
So you want to put the weight here to
Right.
compensate. Okay, so typically what I say is, put two on, tape it on, and see what happens. I'm gonna put 3, and I'm gonna put the sucker on. Now the reason you use tape is because you really don't know what it's going to take. You want to clean, you want to clean the stuff up, and I'm just gonna put, and we'll see how much of a difference this makes. Duct tape works a hell of a lot better, but this will work. You cannot spin this very fast, right? Well, looks like I miscalculated.
Take one off.
Take one off. That's why you don't stick it on. Let's see what happens. Now see, that's good. Well, what you want to do is split the thing up. So what I would do is I'll put 1 and 1. See now that if I had cleaned this off with WD-40, this will return to the same spot every time. Right now it has a little bit of drag on it. And
You
just
clean
that
what,
little,
the
see,
shaft?
it's coming, but it's not as fast. But see,
If you'd have cleaned what, that
if
shaft?
I would have
bearing.
cleaned off the bearing
Okay.
still has some preservative on it.
It's just a lifetime of oil.
Right. But the cleaner the bearing is, or the lighter the oil that you use, the better it works.
So WD-40 or CRC.
CRC, whatever the lubricant of your choice is. This stuff will rust if you get water on it. This is stainless, even though some stainless does corrode. So we're going to try with 2 and see what the heck happens. And you rotate it 90 degrees.
And if it stays, you're good.
That's pretty good. Do it 180 degrees, like this.
So what if it took 3 of them?
If you put 3 of them, now notice, I don't have it exactly in the center. Now I have to move it a little bit to compensate for that. If you're a little bit off, this is extremely sensitive and sometimes a pain in the ass. See, right now, this would be a perfect wheel anywhere in town on anybody's balancer. That wouldn't even.
So what is this balance to within like a gram?
Actually, 0.3 of a gram because I picked
stem?
up a plastic valve stem. If you clean everything off properly, the plastic valve stem, you'll pick it up. Even though it's so close to the bottom, this is going to be a tough one, right?
And the bearings are,
See it? It did move a little bit, but it's so close to the bottom that it's losing its advantage. It should pick that up very easily. See, before it was stopped, now it's moving. But if you clean these bearings off, it will easily pick that up. And that's how you calibrate it. You're not gonna notice that. I'd leave that sucker alone. I would just say, hey, it's good enough. Or when you get it to be really, really slow, when it moves very, very slow, I will leave that alone too. Like right here, I should take half a weight off. See, because it is a little bit heavy.
So if it took 3, you'd just cut it right down the middle and put 1.5 on each side?
no, if it took 3, you'd take 1 off.
Ray, how many do you
Two.
need?
Yeah.
How many do you need?
Oh,
Don't cut it.